afternoon, all. No, I didn't forget time, Tanishq. I'm getting an old man, no doubt, but I didn't forget time at all. Good afternoon, Kushi. Good afternoon, Mithilesh. Nice to see you all. Good afternoon, Krishna. So, we will start off then. ये हो सकता है तनिष्क, इसीलिए जाता ही नहीं हूँ मैं, बुलाते रहते हैं वैसे. Good afternoon, Swati. Hello. Good afternoon, Harita. So great. Nice to see you all getting connected. Now, what we can do is we can start the discussion as I told you yesterday with a discussion on relevance of bad bank in India. Relevance of bad bank in India. खूब न्यूज़ में है बैड बैंक सारी चीज़ें हो रही हैं, नाम वाम. हाय जयदीप, हाय उत्कर्ष, गुड आफ्टरनून कृति, नाइस, गुड आफ्टरनून सोनाक्षी, गुड आफ्टरनून टू ऑल ऑफ यू, प्रेरणा, सम्यक, ऑल ऑफ यू. लेट्स गेट गोइंग देन. आई एम स्टार्टिंग ऑफ. तो पहले देखो इसको, इस डिबेट को, इस डिस्कशन को स्ट्रक्चर करते हैं. पहले समझते हैं कि बैड बैंक की ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ी. ठीक है, उसके लिए थोड़ा हिस्ट्री समझना पड़ेगा 1990s ऑनवर्ड्स और उसके पहले का. So first we will try understanding that what is it that creates a requirement of bad bank. We will then talk about what is a bad bank, what is the institutional mechanism, and then we will talk about what are the benefits of a bad bank, what are the problems of a bad bank, and what should be the method if we want to bring in a bad bank. तो पहले बात करेंगे historical ideas, क्यों bad bank की ज़रूरत पड़ी. करीब 15-20 मिनट उस पर लगाना पड़ेगा. Then 5-10 minutes we will try understanding what will be the function of a bad bank, what will the bad bank try doing. Then we will try understanding that what will be the benefits if you create a bad bank, and what can be the problems or challenges of a bad bank, and how to resolve those challenges. That is how I will be debating this whole structure with you as I talk about bad bank discussion in India and the relevance of bad bank in Indian context. Some historical contexts also we will keep taking. International context. So see, history of it is, if you look at it historically, history of it, so till 1991, Indian commercial banks did not formally identify non-performing assets. All right, non-performing assets होते हैं loans given by banks which have not been returned, defaulted, that is, for more than 90 days. In some cases, up to 180 days. तो आपने लोन दिया और अगर वो 90 डेज तक लौट कर नहीं आया, कुछ केसेस में 180 दिनों तक लौट कर नहीं आया, मतलब ना प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट आया ना इंटरेस्ट आया. Neither the principal comes nor the interest comes. You give a loan and for 90 days nothing comes back, nor the principal nor the interest. In some cases up to 180 days if nothing comes back, neither the principal nor the interest. Then you start calling that loan a non-performing asset. क्योंकि बैंक ने जो लोन दिया है वो बैंक के लिए तो एक asset है. बैंक ने जो लोन दिया है, the loan given or extended by the bank is an asset for the bank. Now this asset is not performing because you are not getting any loan, any money back on it. So that creates a non-performing asset. Till 1991, we had no provision, no question of even identifying these NPAs. पूरा लंगर बट रहा था. It was nice free meal going on, where you take loan from the bank, you don't pay back. Well, it was the discretion, if you will be penalized or not, but there was no official methodology by which the bank was forced to identify that this is my non-performing asset and I will have to provision for it. Because when you bring in a non-performing asset, when you bring in a non-performing asset, then the next thing you need to do is, therefore, no need of provisioning for non-performing asset. अब ये provisioning क्या हुआ भाई? Think, जो लोन आपने मैंने आपको दिया है, सपोज मैं आपका बैंकर हूं, आप सुनते रहना मेरी बात ध्यान से. Just started Ashutosh. So keep listening to me carefully. The loan that I have given you is a loan or is a money that I can give you only if I have taken deposits from someone. So say I am a banker, I take deposit from person X and give loan to person Y. That is my job, financial intermediation. So I take deposits from person X, give loan to person Y. In this process, I have given loan to person Y. Person Y is defaulting on that loan, which means person X will now be worried that how will this bank now give back my money? मैंने X से पैसे लिए, Y को दे दिया, Y ने मुझे पैसे नहीं लौटा है, मैं X को कैसे दूंगा वापस उनके पैसे? ठीक है? तो as a banker, I have to assure X that you don't worry, your money is safe, and I will not default on your deposits. You don't have to panic and take it out. How do I convince the depositor? I convince the depositor by provisioning for the loan which did not come back. जो non-performing asset बना, उसके लिए मैं provisioning करूंगा. कैसे करूंगा ये provisioning? By selling some asset and maintaining liquidity, selling some asset and maintaining liquidity as the provision. मैं मान लो किसी कंपनी का बॉन्ड होल्ड कर रहा हूं या कहीं कोई लैंड होल्ड कर रहा हूं, कोई घर, कुछ भी, मैं अपने किसी एक असेट को सेल करूं, आई सेल दैट असेट and tell the depositor, look, you don't worry at all, I have this liquid cash or some other deposit available with me. Whenever you will need your deposit, you will get it. You don't need to withdraw it as a panicked withdrawal. You don't have to do that. तुम्हें घबरा के विड्रॉ करने की जरूरत नहीं, तुम्हारे पैसे सेफ है मेरे पास, भले ही वाई ने मेरा लोन ना चुकता किया हो. This is called provisioning of bank loans. Sometimes I can use the other deposits I am getting to show to the buyer, look, I have enough deposits with me, I have enough money with me to pay you back. That is provisioning. But what does provisioning do? If I have to use my assets for provisioning, if I have to use my fresh deposits for provisioning or my reserves for provisioning, then my capacity to lend more is compromised. So please remember that if banks have to use their assets for provisioning, then it compromises their capacity. It compromises their capacity. Just this part I need you to understand. Their capacity to create further loans. क्योंकि जो एसेट, जो पैसा मेरे पास था जिससे मैं लोन दे सकता था, अब उससे तो मुझे प्रोविजन करना पड़ रहा है. The money that I had with which I could have given more loans, with that money I have to do more provisioning. तो इसीलिए बैंक्स नॉर्मली आइडेंटिफाई करने से रिलक्टेंट रहते हैं. नॉर्मली द बैंक्स आर रिलक्टेंट टू आइडेंटिफाई देयर नॉन परफॉर्मिंग assets. So coming back to the story that I was telling you, in the pre-91 phase, life was so nice that Indian commercial banks did not have to formally identify NPA, so there was no need to provision for that NPA. They didn't have to formally identify NPA, so there was no need to provision for NPA. And I told you what is an NPA. just matter of factly, obviously I can't take you into details of NPA right now, but I'm telling you what is an NPA, and I told you what is provisioning. You know that what is the problem of provision? Not a problem exactly, but what is the restriction that provisioning creates on the bank? Now, from 1991, the government said no, please go ahead and identify your non-performing assets. That was the reform. रिफॉर्म हुआ तो सरकार ने कहा भाई अब लंगर बांटना बंद करो कि जो आके लोन लेकर गए नहीं वापस मांगा तुमने तो नहीं मांगा, बहुत सारे लोन ऐसे ही निकल गए, गरीबों के नाम पे अमीरों का उत्थान हो गया, ये सब भी हो रहा था. दैट मेनी रिच वुड टेक लोन एंड देन डिफॉल्ट ऑन दोज लोन्स एंड रिकवरीज विल नॉट बी मेड. जो आजकल बात होती है ना, लॉट ऑफ लोन हैज बीन रिटन ऑफ. कभी पता करो हाउ मच लोन वॉज रिटन ऑफ बिफोर 1991, तो रियलिटी पता चलेगी कि हम कितना बढ़िया सोशलिज्म फॉलो कर रहे थे. बट एनी विच वे, सो बी इट. The best I have got on that is somebody told me, how old were you in those days to understand these things? Fair enough. ऐसे आर्ग्यूमेंट सुनकर मुझे बड़ा मजा आता है कि तुम इतने छोटे थे, तुम्हें क्या पता उस जमाने में क्या होता था. ठीक ही बात है, उस हिसाब से तो हमें पता ही नहीं प्री इंडिपेंडेंस क्या होता था, हम तो जन्म ही नहीं लिया था हमने, या पुनर्जन्म की बातें याद आ रही हैं. बट एनी विच वे, जोक्स अपार्ट, कमिंग बैक टू माई पॉइंट अगेन. Srishti, I will do that, but please keep listening carefully because I have to build up this entire thing up over the period. All right. So when you look at provisioning, I will repeat once for you that when you talk provisioning, provisioning means banks have to sell some of their assets, all right, to maintain enough liquidity to convince their depositors that even after a default, there is no problem. Even after a default, there is no problem, they will get back their money. All right, that is what provisioning means. But if they provision and use their assets for provisioning, then that means banks are left with less resources which they can lend to the market. I hope, Srishti, you get the point. Then we come back to the story. You keep listening to me. All right, I suggest you all keep listening to me. All answers you will get in my discussion. All right, you will get in my discussion. Now, collateral, etc., I'll teach you that. Now, after this, in 1994, it was identified that total non-performing assets of public sector banks was rupees 3.2 lakh crore. Total non-performing assets of public sector banks was rupees 3.2 lakh crore. 3.2 trillion rupees was the non-performing assets of public sector bank. Government said we are writing it off. In those days they said one time. एक बार के लिए ये सारे लोन को राइट ऑफ कर देते हैं. राइट ऑफ करना मतलब, जब आप कहते हो राइटिंग इट ऑफ, रिमूविंग इट फ्रॉम बैंक्स बैलेंस शीट, removing it from bank's balance sheet to some other institution, to be recovered later. कि जब आप लोन को बैंक के बैलेंस शीट से हटा देते हो, और किसी और इंस्टीट्यूशन पे डाल देते हो, जैसे सरकार की कोई कंपनी हो या प्राइवेट सेक्टर कोई कंपनी को दे दिया, कि वो बाद में आराम से रिकवर करें उसको, तो उसे कहते हैं राइटिंग ऑफ द लोन. इस केस में 1994 में इस लोन को पूरी तरह राइट ऑफ किया गया एंड गवर्नमेंट फुट द एंटायर बिल. सो गवर्नमेंट रिकैपिटलाइज्ड, सरकार ने सारे पैसे डाले बैंक में, recapitalized the banks for rupees 3.2 lakh crore. सरकार ने इतने पैसे बैंक में डाल दिए. उन्होंने कहा एक बार के लिए हम आपको क्षमा करते हैं, for once we waive off the loan and we will recapitalize to the bank. All right, that no, please keep listening to me, Harita. You will get the point. So we recapitalize the bank. So the government gave 3.2 lakh crore to the banks. This was in 1994. The public sector banks kept getting recapitalized after that. This was not the end of it. So continuously recapitalization chalta raha. So the recapitalization continued. The government would keep putting more and more money into public sector banks, and the defaults would happen, loan accumulation would happen, and so on. This continued. Private sector banks entered Indian markets. International or foreign banks entered Indian markets. It all went on. Then in 2002, government passed a law called SARFAESI Act, in which it was allowed that the lender could take over the asset of the borrower, take over the asset or collateral, that is the security given by the borrower, collateral of borrower, sell it to another entity, and recover its dues. That if there was default continuously, then the lender was allowed now that you can take over the borrower's assets, the collateral, sell it in the market, and recover your dues. In 2004 and 2005, private asset reconstruction companies, I will explain this to you. Private asset reconstruction companies or asset management companies started their business, in India. Started their business in India. 2004, 2005, private asset management companies, Edelweiss, Ashron, several private asset management companies started their businesses in India. Now, what is an asset management company or an asset reconstruction company? An asset reconstruction company or an asset management company is a big enough firm which will buy the non-performing assets of the commercial banks. How do you buy the non-performing assets of a commercial bank? Say I am a commercial bank, I have given loan to a person who has defaulted, and I have the securities of that person, some collateral worth 80 rupees, 90 rupees, 100 rupees, whatsoever. I have that collateral. As an asset reconstruction company, you can agree that you will now take over that loan. It will be your headache to recover that loan, and I will tell you, all right, you pay some money upfront to me, say 15 rupees, 20 rupees, out of 100 that did not come back to me. तो 100 रुपए नहीं आए मेरे पास, उसमें से 15-20 रुपए upfront पे कर दो मुझे तुम. Upfront मतलब in advance. और फिर जैसे तुम recover करोगे पैसा, बाकी के पैसे में से कुछ अमाउंट मुझे पे कर दोगे जो पहले से डिसाइडेड होगा, बाकी तुम्हारा प्रॉफिट हो गया. जैसे मैं तुम्हें एक एग्जांपल देके बताता हूं, एक हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन लेते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, इफ सपोज आई गिव अ लोन टू कंपनी वाई, आई एम अ बैंकर, and company Y defaulted on that loan entirely. The entire 100 rupees did not come back to me. Suppose you are an asset reconstruction company or an asset management company. You hold a deal with me. You tell me, all right, you don't worry. You sell this loan to me for 60 rupees. You sell this loan to me for 60 rupees. So I am telling you that right now you are getting nothing for this loan. Right now you are getting nothing for this loan. I will give you money worth 60 rupees. That means I am telling you that for the 60% value of your non-performing asset, I am willing to buy your non-performing asset. All right, I am telling you that for 60% value of your non-performing asset, I am willing to buy your non-performing asset. What does that imply? It implies that I am saying you transfer the collaterals in my name, all the securities deposited with you in my name, and this 60% amount you keep, out of which 15 or 20% I will give you upfront. 15-20 रुपए तो मैं तुम्हें अपफ्रंट दे दूंगा, बाकी के 30-40 रुपए मैं तुम्हें देता जाऊंगा जैसे जैसे मनी रिकवर होती जाएगी. 15 to 20% money I will give you upfront. The rest 30-40 rupees I will give you as I also recover more money. But your share will be 60. Whatever extra I recover will be mine and that will be my profit. कि बैंकर को 60 रुपए मिलेंगे उस 100 में से और जो एक्स्ट्रा मैं रिकवर कर लूंगा वो मेरा प्रॉफिट होगा. ऑलराइट, बैंकर सोचता है देखो भाई अब इसमें फायदा क्या है, एक तो कुछ पैसे इमीडिएटली हाथ में आ रहे हैं. One benefit is some money I am getting immediately in hand, 15-20 rupees. Another 30-40 rupees the fellow is promising he will recover, he will take the headache and pay to me. If I don't do that, and by doing that I am writing off 100 rupees loan, taking a haircut of 40 rupees. 100 रुपए में से कितने पैसे ये कह रहा है तुम्हें नहीं दूंगा मैं, 40 रुपए, 60 रुपए तो कह रहा है मुझे दे देगा. Out of 100 rupees, the fellow says 40 rupees I will not be giving you, 60 rupees you sell it off to me and I will give you 60 rupees. So the 40 rupees that now I agree I will never get back is my haircut in banking parlance. Banking terms में इसे ही कहते हैं haircut. Alright, तो haircut क्या हुआ? That part of loan which I know I will not be able to recover by any means. That part of loan which I know I will not be able to recover by any means. So out of 100 rupees loan, the non-performing asset of 100 rupees, the asset management company says, or the asset reconstruction company says, that we are willing to buy your loan of 100 rupees, but we will be able to pay only 60 rupees. But after that, recovering these 100 rupees will be our headache. कि ये 100 रुपए का जो लोन जो तुम्हारा वापस नहीं आ रहा, उसके कोलैटरल, उसके कागज मुझे दे दो और मैं तुम्हें इसके बदले 60 रुपए दे दूंगा, लेकिन हमारा हेडेक होगा इस लोन को कलेक्ट करना. This was what was said, what will be said by an asset reconstruction company. That is their business. What is the modicum of business? The modicum is that then they will pay 15-20 rupees upfront, 15-20 रुपए सीधा दे दिया बैंकर को और उनको बोला कि अब जैसे जैसे मैं रिकवर करता जाऊंगा, as I start recovering the money, I will keep paying some money back to you. In the process, say if the asset reconstruction company is able to recover 70-75 rupees out of 100, then 10-15 rupees is their profit and 60 rupees the bankers get back. So the bankers who were not getting any money now get 60. They take a haircut of 40 and they write off the entire 100 rupees loan. उनके बैलेंस शीट से ये 100 रुपए का लोन हट जाएगा. अब उन्हें नहीं दिखाना है कि मेरे नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट्स हैं 100 रुपए के. The banker's balance sheet will get rid of this 100 rupees loan. They don't have to show this 100 rupees as a non-performing asset. So what is the benefit of that? The banker benefits because 1, he gets 60 rupees out of 100. 2, when he removes the loan from his balance sheet, now he doesn't have to provision for any loan. जब एक बार वो 100 रुपए का अनपेड लोन हट गया बैलेंस शीट से तो उनको प्रोविजनिंग करने की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है. मतलब जो असेट उनके अटक गए हैं, जैसा मैंने आपको पिछले स्लाइड में समझाया था, दैट दोज असेट्स विच आर नाउ स्टक अप टू प्रोविजन फॉर दोज 100 रुपीज लोन नॉट कमिंग बैक, कि आपको अपने बॉन्ड्स बेचने पड़ेंगे. आई एम आंसरिंग योर क्वेश्चन हरिता हियर, दैट यू विल हैव टू sell your bonds, on the loan worth 60 rupees, 100 rupees, or you have to arrange for other assets worth 100 rupees. You don't have to arrange for those other assets. Your 100 rupees are free now. आप अपने उन assets से आगे लोन दे सकते हो, तो बिजनेस बढ़ा सकते हो. Your 100 rupees are free now. You have written off the loan and you can now use those 100 rupees as reserves to give further loans in the market to expand your business. So bankers have two benefits. One benefit that you will be able to get some money back. Second benefit, that you are not bothered about provisioning anymore. Your assets get released, and that asset can now be used to make further loans in the market and expand your business. So this was a method that people tried, that okay, let the private asset reconstruction companies do it. And what will be the asset reconstruction companies gain? That if they recover anything beyond the loan, that will be their profit. Why do we think ARCs will be able to do that? अब जो ये asset reconstruction companies होती हैं, ये richer companies होती हैं, बड़ी companies होती हैं, और इनका काम ही यही होता है. ना ये लोन देते हैं किसी को, ना लोन लेते हैं किसी से. इनका काम ही एक recovery agent वाला होता है. So they have expertise in the topic. They have deeper pockets, that is more money to pay for legal costs, more money to pay for provisioning for structures, and they have methodologies knowing the governance structure to sell the collateral. कि जो collateral है, जो securities हैं, जो banker के लिए बेचना मुश्किल है, ये companies के लिए थोड़ा आसान होता है इसको बेचना. It's easier for them to sell the collateral in the market than for a banker. So the asset reconstruction business started like this. But legalities in India were remaining complex. हमारे देश में कानून अभी भी complex रहा. तो asset reconstruction business शुरू तो हुआ, लेकिन बहुत ज़्यादा इस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व नहीं कर पाया. NPA इशू को बहुत ज़्यादा सॉल्व नहीं कर पाया. द बिजनेस कंटिन्यूज. आज भी प्राइवेट एसेट रिकंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनीज हैं जो बिजनेस कर रही हैं, एसेट्स को रिजॉल्व कर रही हैं, बट इट डिड नॉट पिक अप एज बिग एज इट कुड हैव, बिकॉज द लॉ, द लीगैलिटीज वर क्वाइट कॉम्प्लेक्स. क्लैरिटी ऑन कोलैटरल, कि भाई कोलैटरल की वैल्यू कितनी है, उसकी क्लैरिटी. असेट किसको बिलोंग करता है एग्जैक्टली. अब मान लो मैंने अपनी कंपनी के नाम से असेट नहीं लिया है, अपने नाम से लिया है और आपको कोलैटरल दे दिया, और मैं एक बड़ी जॉइंट स्टॉक कंपनी चलाता हूं, तो बाद में केस फाइल कर सकता हूं कि नहीं मुझे कंपनी से क्या लेना, ये असेट तो मेरे थे. इस तरह की कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज थी. there were complexities about asset, ownership of asset, how to dilute the asset. And the problem is that not many people are willing to buy collateralized assets in India because of the lack of clarity on their position. बहुत लोग इंडिया में तैयार भी नहीं होते कोलैटरलाइज्ड एसेट खरीदने को, कि भाई क्या पता कल को इस पे फिर केस आ जाए, कोई प्रॉब्लम आ जाए. तो अगर आप कहते हो मैं नीलामी कर रहा हूँ ये एसेट की, तो बहुत आसानी से खरीदने वाले नहीं मिलते. Alright, that is the problem, that you don't get very easily people who will buy it. So private asset reconstruction business started in India but did not grow big. It started, it remains, it continues, but it is not a huge business that has developed in India at the moment. That is how, say, the story comes till here. Then, I will be answering all your questions, or you can leave it to me on the message. I just don't want the continuity to be disrupted. All right. So please keep listening, and then we will see how we can tackle these questions one by one. So then, if you look at it, here, until 2008, the life was going good. I'm taking you into that story now. 2008, total loans outstanding, banking sector loans, of course, banking sector, total loans outstanding was rupees 18 lakh crore, 18 lakh crore, out of which total NPAs, non-performing assets, were rupees 2 lakh crore. Total, not even 2 lakh crore, actually 1.6 lakh crore. So NPAs were 1.6 lakh crore. All right, less than 2 lakh crore, not a big deal. We were an economy which was almost touching 70 lakh, 80 lakh crore value. So we thought, okay, NPAs are there, but let's not get too worried about it. They are recoverable, and we can pay some part back, and provisioning can be done, and so on. Now what the banks started doing is giving more loans with the subprime crisis that the world was affected by in 2008. Government followed easy money policy, that is print money, give liquidity to the market. To increase liquidity, government followed easy money policy. Easy money policy मतलब सरकार मनी प्रिंट कर रही थी, आसानी से लोन दे रही थी, इंटरेस्ट रेट को कम कर रही थी, इसको कहते हैं इजी मनी पॉलिसी, दैट गवर्नमेंट वाज प्रिंटिंग मनी, कीपिंग द इंटरेस्ट रेट लो, गिविंग लोन्स मोर इजीली टू द मार्केट, टू गिव लिक्विडिटी टू द मार्केट so that banks don't collapse, financial institutions don't collapse, because it was a huge pressure on financial institutions. In case you don't know subprime crisis, just take it as a name for the moment. आप समझ लो एक क्राइसिस आया जिसने गवर्नमेंट को फोर्स किया कि आप लोन्स बढ़ाओ भाई, मार्केट को, कंपनीज को सपोर्ट करने के लिए और बैंक्स को सपोर्ट करने के लिए. So more loans came into the market. This continued for a long period of time between 2008 and 2013. Between 2008, this is how we take the story. Then between 2008 and 2013, loans outstanding increased from 18 lakh crore rupees, of course, to 52 lakh crore. From 18 lakh crore to 52 lakh crore. 34 लाख करोड़ एक्स्ट्रा लोन दिए गए इन 5 सालों में. इसमें कोई बुराई नहीं है, ये ठीक है, कर सकते हैं. Point is that, or the interesting point was that the non-performing assets which were at 1.6 lakh crore in 2008 remained at 2 lakh crore by 2013. मतलब एनपीए बढ़े ही नहीं ज्यादा. कितने बढ़िया लोग थे हम, सारे लोन वापस कर रहे थे, बट एक्चुअली ऐसा हो नहीं रहा था. NPAs did not increase, sounded so good that people were taking loan, paying it back, no problem at all, great. But that was not the reality. The reality was that the banks were practicing what we call evergreening of loans. Banks were practicing what is called evergreening of loans. Now, what is this evergreening of loans, that they were practicing? Evergreening of loans is, listen to this carefully again. Evergreening of loans का मतलब होता है कि जैसे 90 दिन के बाद, 90 डेज के बाद मुझे पता है कि आपका लोन एनपीए बन जाएगा, नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट बन जाएगा, अगर आपने मुझे पैसे नहीं चुकाए, थोड़े भी तो. और अगर एनपीए बन गया तो मुझे उसके लिए प्रोविजनिंग करनी पड़ेगी. After 90 days, I know that your loan will become an NPA. And if that loan becomes an NPA, I will have to provision for it. तो इससे बचने के लिए क्या करते थे बैंक्स कि उनके अकाउंट में NPAs ना दिखें, जो बोरोवर है, जो डिफॉल्ट कर रहा है, उसको कहते थे तुम फ्रेश लोन ले लो, नया लोन ले लो, पार्ट ऑफ दिस लोन तुम यूज करो मुझे पुराने लोन को चुकाने में, और इससे मैं एनपीए नहीं दिखाऊंगा तुम्हारे लोन को, और नए लोन से तुम अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाओ और लॉन्ग रन में मुझे पैसे चुका देना. सो व्हाट द बैंक्स वुड टेल द बोरोवर्स इज, if you have defaulted on 100 rupees and you are not giving me 1 rupee out of it, and now after 90 days it will become an NPA, then rather what you do is I will give you another 50 rupees loan, and out of this 50 rupees you use 10 rupees to pay back the old loan, so that I don't have to classify your loans as NPA, because some money has now come back. NPA is only when no money comes back. So since some money has come back, it will not be classified as an NPA. And with the rest 40 rupees, you invest more in your business, try recovering your money and give it back to me in the long run. ये सारे पैसे मुझे long run में लौटा देना. Borrowers के लिए तो बड़ा बढ़िया है ये. They were not giving any money anyways. You are giving them fresh money. They will not give you further money if the wish arises. This is called evergreening of loans. वो लोन जो सदाबहार रहे, तो सदाबहार लोन कैसे दोगे? सदाबहार ऋण का तरीका है कि लोन को चुकता करने के लिए ज्यादा लोन दे दिया, जिससे ये लगे कि लोन वापस आया, बट एक्चुअली क्या हुआ, आप ही ने पैसे दिए अपने ही लोन को वापस देने के लिए. क्यों? ताकि अकाउंट बुक्स में एनपीए कम नजर आए. एनपीए कम नजर आएंगे तो प्रोविजनिंग कम करनी पड़ेगी, और प्रोविजनिंग कम करनी पड़ेगी तो अपना बिजनेस चलता रहेगा और प्रेशर नहीं आएगा ऊपर से. एंड 82% ऑफ एनपीएज वर इन पब्लिक सेक्टर. So that was the methodology, that give loans to pay back loans. And why did you do that? So that you don't have to create NPAs, and those NPAs not being seen will mean that no pressure from above to rectify your bank books. This happy story went on till 2013. In 2013, RBI governor changed, and Professor Rangarajan, Raghuram Rajan became the RBI governor. Dr. Rajan introduced a method which was called, this was 2013, this was called asset quality review. This was called asset quality review, AQR. So he said that all banks will have to identify their non-performing assets, no evergreening of loan anymore. If you have given loan with which the money has been paid back, we will count that also as non-performing asset. अगर आपने लोन देकर पैसा वापस लिया है अपने लोन का, तो वो भी अब non-performing asset count होगा. So you will have to qualify your assets better, and you will have to qualify them as non-performing assets. You will have to qualify them as non-performing assets. And as you qualify them as non-performing assets, you will have to, I repeat, you will have to qualify them as non-performing assets, and then you will have to do 100% provisioning for them. कि जितना पैसा लौट कर नहीं आया, उस सब के लिए provisioning करो. So this meant identifying all NPAs diligently, stopping evergreening of loans, and provisioning for entire amount of default. This was done, the purpose was, or the objective was, cleaning up the banking system. That was very important and a very good decision taken by Dr. Rajan. Cleaning up the banking system. I will tell you the surprise element now. The NPAs till 2013, NPAs till 2013 were 2 lakh crore, और जैसे ही ये rule आया, by 2014 year end, they had jumped to 5 lakh crore. By 2016, it was 8 lakh crore, and by 2018, it was 10 lakh crore. सीधा jump NPA के अंदर, continuous jump in the value of NPA, year after year, over next 5 years. More skeletons tumbling out of the bank closet. जितना बैंक के अंदर घुसते थे, उतना और गंदगी निकल के आती थी बाहर, क्योंकि खूब सारा ठूस के रखा था अंदर. सालों से प्रोविजन नहीं किया था, एवरग्रीनिंग कर रहे थे लोन की, देते थे पैसे, वापस लेने की सोचते ही नहीं थे. तभी देखना इस पीरियड में विजय माल्या जी भाग गए, नीरव मोदी जी भाग गए, क्योंकि अब नजर आने लगी बात कि कहाँ से पैसा गया था और कैसे बाहर नहीं आ रहा है. So this was the time when you would see many Indians leaving India, and Nirav Modi, Vijay Mallya are two big names. In fact, close to around 1,700 people with $1 million plus property left India, or asset left India. But a lot of people, economists like me, suspect that was because of now them understanding that the more loans come out of the closet, more it will be the problem, because they were the real defaulters. In fact, out of this 10 lakh crore loan, out of this 10 lakh crore loan that you see in 2018, 2.5 lakh crore was owed by only 12 businessmen. ये जो 10 लाख करोड़ का लोन आउटस्टैंडिंग तुम्हें दिख रहा है एनपीए, इसमें से 2.5 लाख करोड़ तो सिर्फ 12 लोगों के आउटस्टैंडिंग थे, और 4.5 लाख करोड़ तो सिर्फ 40 लोगों के आउटस्टैंडिंग थे. तो उनसे रिकवर करना था ये पैसा, और काफी लोग भागे हुए थे देश से. So this is the problem that we saw, over the period, that with the provisioning, with the qualification of asset and asset quality review, we could see, that हाँ तनिष्क सही है. We could see that this was the issue that was faced, in India of rising bad loans. How do the banks pay for it, provision for it? Imagine the amount of money stuck up in the banking system. अब एक बात समझना ध्यान से. Why was this NPA building up? Reasons for high rise in NPA in this time period. Reasons for high rise in NPA in this time period. So one was, and yes, one question can come to your mind that why were the depositors not getting worried? आज भी आप सोच सकते हो, why are the depositors not worried in spite of such high NPAs? Well, depositors in India live in a happy zone, no? They believe सरकारी बैंक है, default थोड़ी कर देगा. वो तो फिर जब पंजाब और महाराष्ट्र कोऑपरेटिव बैंक एक धक्का मारता है तो लगता है अरे ये कहाँ गया, मेरे पैसे किधर गए भाई? So this is how depositors have lived in India. That it's a government bank, it will never default. They don't go into the deposit insurance and credit guarantee, deposit and credit guarantee insurance bill which says that up to 5 lakh rupees that you deposit is guaranteed. वो भी 5 लाख पिछले साल से हुआ, नहीं तो 1 लाख रुपए थे. The Deposit Credit Guarantee and Insurance Corporation, it said that till 2019-20 you were just save on 1 lakh rupees deposit. But इतना किसको फुर्सत है, कौन पढ़ता है ये सब? कितना बढ़िया अखबार में छाप ही देते हैं कि आपके पैसे सरकारी बैंक में सुरक्षित हैं, लेकिन कानूनी रूप से 1 ही लाख रुपया सुरक्षित था, अब 5 लाख रुपए सुरक्षित हैं, उसके ऊपर कुछ नहीं. So legally up to 1 lakh rupees you were protected as a depositor, now 5 lakh, but nothing beyond that. But people believing that government banks will never default and we will keep getting the money from government banks, people never go to the banks to take their deposits. In a sense, a happy thing, एक तरह से अच्छा ही है, नहीं तो हमारे बड़े banks collapse कर जाते overnight. But since people don't go, the banks can also live happily ever after, keep lending the way you do, and plus end में सरकार तो है ही 3 लाख करोड़ रुपए डालने के लिए बैंक में. अभी उस कहानी पर भी आऊंगा. तो सरकार ने कहा क्या करें, तो पहले देखिए कि कारण क्या रहा. एक कारण तो रहा हाई डिफॉल्ट फ्रॉम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेक्टर ड्यू टू फेलिंग पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप्स. एक कारण ये रहा, very high default from infrastructure sector due to failing public-private partnerships, road sector and airport development and railway platform development. तो delays हुए इनमें बहुत ज़्यादा. Due to delays in decision making, the projects went into losses, and those losses, then these people who were running the projects would not give the money back to the bank. So this became a problem one. That in infrastructure sector like road development, electricity generation companies, airport development authority companies, these companies defaulted heavily on the loans taken from the public sector banks, mainly because of the delays that happened. Costs became high and they could not recover their money, and then they would default on the loan taken from the bank. So this was one factor that would happen. The second reason was drastic fall in commodity prices between 2014 to 2016. Steel price, petroleum price, aluminum price, drastic fall in them. So many companies which had invested heavy, taken a lot of loans, suddenly were running into losses, and they had accumulated those NPAs then. वो लोन नहीं दे पा रहे थे बैंक को कि सडनली ऑयल का प्राइस गिर गया, स्टील की प्राइस गिर गई. तो इनमें जो कंपनीज थी जिन लोगों ने पैसे लगाए थे, उनकी प्रॉफिट्स लॉसेस में बदल गई. जैसे लॉसेस में बदली तो ये पैसे नहीं दे पा रहे थे सरकार बैंक को वापस, तो वहां से NPA उठा बहुत ज़्यादा. क्योंकि रिमेंबर 2013 ऑनवर्ड्स कमोडिटी प्राइसेस स्टार्टेड फॉलिंग एंड फेल ड्रास्टिकली टिल 2016-17, और अभी भी लो लेवल पे ही मूव कर रहे हैं. थर्ड प्रॉब्लम वाज losses in export market, especially sectors like textile, leather goods. इन लोगों ने लोन ले रखे थे, but countries like Vietnam, countries like Bangladesh started beating us in the export market. Also, because of our internal policies, our efficiency became a little low, and also because of deglobalization, कि दुनिया में वैसे ही लोगों ने खरीदना थोड़ा कम किया, सब लोग इनवर्ड्स देखने लगे, तो इन सब कारणों से, because people started looking inwards, so export markets started declining, countries started becoming protectionists. So all due to all that, sectors like textile, sectors like leather goods, pharmaceuticals, there was huge default in these sectors. And then there was default from sectors like telecom, power, and coal due to poor policies. Some poor policies of the government, suddenly changing policies, so drastically reverting, and these poor policies starting 2009, don't forget that, continuing till 2016. You know, so poor policies मतलब ये नहीं कि 14 से 16 के बीच में poor policies बने, खराब पॉलिसीज़ की शुरुआत 2009-10 से हो गई थी, पॉलिसी पैरालिसिस 2010-11 से हो गया था, और वहाँ ऑनवर्ड 2016-17 तक हम स्टेबल पॉलिसी नहीं बना रहे थे. द पॉलिसीज वर अनस्टेबल. तो एनडीए यूपीए लड़ाई में मत जाना, ठीक है. ये यूपीए से लेकर एनडीए के पहले 3-4 सालों तक चलता रहा. तो ये मत सोचना चाहिए यूपीए की सरकार ने किया एनडीए की, फायदा ही नहीं वो सब सोच के. यू नो, डोंट थिंक पॉलिटिक्स व्हाइल डिस्कसिंग इकोनॉमिक्स. सो इंपॉर्टेंट इज फ्रॉम 2009 to 16 पुअर पॉलिसीज वर मेड, दीज सेक्टर्स सफर्ड. ठीक है, दीज वर इकोनॉमिक रीजंस फॉर द डिफॉल्ट. फेयर इनफ, यू कैन स्टिल ट्राई covering for them, that okay, let's solve these issues economically, and the defaults can be, covered, that you can solve for the issues economically, and the defaults can be then recovered. All right, these were the economic issues that you could recover, over the period. But there were some institutional issues, larger problem of rising NPA due to institutional issues. What was this institutional issues? One, reluctance of public sector bank managers to write off the loans by taking haircut, because they had no incentive to do it. Reluctance on the part of public sector managers to write off the loans by taking a haircut. Why? They would have been accused of corruption. अरे तुमने उस कंपनी का लोन माफ कर दिया, तुमने पैसा खाया होगा. You wrote off the loan, you must have taken money. While writing off doesn't mean waiving off. माफ करने का मतलब वेव ऑफ कर दिया, राइट ऑफ करने का मतलब कोई और उसे कलेक्ट करेगा. फिर भी हमारे देश में ये सब बातें नहीं चलती. ऑपोजिशन शोर मचाएगा, अखबार में आर्टिकल लिख दिए जाएंगे और आप भाई फंसोगे, क्योंकि उसके बाद कोर्ट कोई सुओ मोटू कॉग्नाइसेंस ले लेगा, आप फंस सकते हो उसमें. दैट कैन बी अ डिफिकल्टी. एट टाइम्स वी हैव सीन इट हैपनिंग. सो राइटिंग ऑफ द लोन, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड द पार्ट, इज नॉट वेविंग ऑफ द लोन. But bankers were worried even writing off, because they thought if we write off the loan today, we can have the CID, CBI, CVC, knocking on our door, CAG, knocking on our door, 4 Cs as we call it, CAG, CBI, CVC, CID, 4 Cs which can knock on my door and worry me unnecessarily. अब इसका नतीजा क्या है सोचो. 100 rupees का लोन है, 100 rupees, say an asset management company, or even otherwise the company to which you have given loan, if somebody offers you that we will give you 60, but kindly write off the 100, you say, no, I'm not doing that. If you had written off that 100, at least you could have recovered 60. Now you are getting nothing, and the loan will have a 10-12% interest rate. So the same NPA, which was 100 rupees today, next year it will become 112, next year it will become 125, because 10% increase every year will happen automatically because of the interest not coming back. तो आपने हो सकता है फ्रेश लोन ना दिया हो, लेकिन फ्रेश लोन नहीं देने के बाद भी एनपीए बढ़ते रहेंगे, क्योंकि इंटरेस्ट जो नहीं लौट कर आया वो बढ़ता रहेगा. दैट्स अ प्रॉब्लम. So it's better to write off the loan, recover what you can, and make sure that willful defaulters are punished, but those defaulters who are not willful can be supported also. The system should have that discretion. Unfortunately, for a public sector banker, if you don't write off the loan, nothing goes out of your pocket. आपकी सैलरी आती रहती है, आपका प्रमोशन होता रहता है. If you write off the loan, you may be accused of corruption. My incentive says don't write off the loan. So that became problem one. Problem two was, lack of coordination among lenders. अब देखो, ये थोड़ी होगा कि एक कंपनी को एक ही बैंक लोन देगी. So one company may have got loans from, say, 10 different banks. And these 10 different banks are the different lenders or creditors that they are. Whether I use the word lenders or I use the word creditors, it's one and the same. मैं lenders word use करूं या creditors, एक ही बात है. तो अब 10 बैंक ने मिलकर एक आदमी को लोन दिया है, एक कंपनी को. अब ये कंपनी मान लो डिफॉल्ट कर रही है. इस कंपनी ने 10 बैंक से मिलाकर 200 करोड़ रुपए लोन लिए. अब ये डिफॉल्ट कर रही है. सो द स्मॉलर वंस, जिनका शेयर कम है लोन में, वो जल्दी तैयार हो जाएंगे हेयर कट लेने को. Say one bank has given 20 crore, another has given 5 crore. They will be willing to take a haircut, thinking that okay, maybe less absolute loss, whatever can be recovered. But if one bank has given 100 crore, and then you say take a 60% haircut, that bank will be troubled. See, if I have given 5 crore and you take 60% haircut, in absolute terms life is still okay. चलो 5 करोड़ में से 2 करोड़ आ गए, 3 करोड़ नहीं आए, कोई बात नहीं, 2 करोड़ आ तो गए. लेकिन 100 करोड़ में से 60 करोड़ नहीं आए, ये तो घबराने वाली बात हो जाती है. So lenders, internal coordination among lenders was very poor or is very poor in India. So recovery of loans becomes a difficulty because lenders don't come to a plan. एक प्लान तो सारे लेंडर्स को मिलके, क्रेडिटर्स को मिलके बनाना पड़ेगा कि एक डेवलपमेंट करें जिससे कि लोन वापस रिकवर किया जा सके. ये नहीं हो रहा था उस केस में. Then the other problem was that they were facing, third, that you face as institutional problem is higher provisioning reduced liquidity, higher provisioning, reduced liquidity, leading to twin balance sheet deficit. Higher provisioning, reduced liquidity, leading to twin balance sheet deficit. अब इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? इसका मतलब ये हुआ that जब आप liquidity नहीं provide कर पाओगे, suppose you are provisioning very high for your previous loans not paid, then banks had less liquidity to give loans to the market. Now some firms which were in genuine requirement of money for purpose of expansion, for purpose of meeting working capital needs, paying their workers, buying raw materials, now they stopped getting money. That meant these firms started defaulting on the bank's loans. तो twin balance sheet deficit issue कहते थे इसे. Problem on bank's balance sheet, they had NPAs, due to which they had to do provisioning. Provisioning means using your asset to cover for the unpaid loan, which means you don't have enough assets to give more loans. Now, if you don't give more loans, corporate balance sheet, which needs loans to expand and pay back its dues and pay its workers, invest in machines, grow and earn profit, that started suffering. So corporates started going into losses. As corporates started going into losses, they would stop paying loans to the bank, and that will mean it becomes a vicious cycle. बैंक के पास पैसे नहीं तो वो कॉर्पोरेट्स को लोन नहीं दे रहे. जब कॉर्पोरेट्स को लोन नहीं मिलता तो वो इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर पाते. इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर पाने के अलावा मशीन नहीं खरीद सकते, वर्कर्स को नहीं दे सकते, तो उनकी एक्सपेंशन रुकी तो उनको लॉसेज हुए तो उन्होंने बैंक को लोन देना कम कर दिया. तो मिलाकर क्या हो गया? ट्विन बैलेंस शीट डेफिसिट. ये दोनों इफेक्टिवली क्या नजर आने लगे? एक बैलेंस शीट की प्रॉब्लम दूसरे में फीड कर रही थी. एक और चीज क्या नजर आ रही थी यहाँ? दैट बैंकर्स वर नॉट अलाउड एनी मोर टू एवरग्रीन द लोन. that was another reason for rising loans in Indian context. The reason for rising loans in Indian context was that bankers were not allowed, if I can write for, stopping, अब ये अच्छी बात थी लेकिन NPA तो बढ़ा ही रहा था, stopping evergreening of loans. and all this meant loss of liquidity which was now affecting economic growth of the country. अगर टाइम से लिक्विडिटी नहीं मिलेगी कंपनीज को तो वो कैसे फंक्शन करेंगे, कैसे अपना रॉ मटेरियल खरीदेंगे, कैसे मशीन्स खरीदेंगे, कैसे बिजनेस एक्सपैंड करेंगे. तो उस केस में क्या होगा, कंपनीज डूबने लगेंगी तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट खराब होगा. तो लोग क्या सोचेंगे, अरे मेरी एम्प्लॉयमेंट जा रही है या नई एम्प्लॉयमेंट क्रिएट नहीं हो रही है, तो लोग खर्च नहीं करेंगे, तो कंजम्पशन कम होगा. कंजम्पशन कम होगा तो इन्वेस्टमेंट और कम होगा, तो इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ पे नेगेटिव असर पड़ेगा. If the companies see that they are running into losses because they don't get liquidity on time so that they can expand, do business, make investments, then companies will start contracting. Then companies will start removing workers. They will not hire new workers. When employment falls, people will develop negative sentiment, and that will mean consumption will fall. And all this combined will mean economy is in a negative growth position. And that is what we see happening since 2018, that the growth has slowed down big time in India. So twin balance sheet deficit has been a big reason behind this. And then it starts affecting your non-banking financial companies, your real estate companies. All those sectors which could create jobs are suddenly now facing liquidity crunch. पैसों की कमी, और पैसों की कमी से इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ की कमी. ये नजर आने लगा इंडिया में by 2016-17. So now, for the first time in 2017, economic survey suggested creating a bad bank. उस पर आने से पहले आप एक बात समझो अब. What can be the possible methods used to come out of twin balance sheet deficit? To come out of twin balance sheet deficit. इससे बाहर निकलने के क्या पॉसिबल मेथड्स हो सकते हैं. ठीक है, पहला तो जो सरकार ने यूज भी किया, पहला राइट ऑफ द लोन. उम्मीद है अब आप इसका मतलब समझते हो. राइट ऑफ करने का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि आपने लोन माफ कर दिया. राइट ऑफ करने का लोन का मतलब होता है कि आपने अपने बैलेंस शीट से उसे हटा दिया, बैंक के बैलेंस शीट से हटा दिया, किसी और कंपनी को बेच दिया या किसी और इंस्टीट्यूशन को ट्रांसफर कर दिया, ताकि आप नए लोन दे सको, प्रोविजनिंग के झंझट से बच सको. Writing off the loan means that you have transferred the loan away from your balance sheet to another company or asset reconstruction company, so that your assets are freed, with which you can give new loans and more liquidity can go to the market. So writing off the loans with haircut. But as I told you, politically difficult for a public sector bank. Politically difficult, plus no incentive for public sector bank manager. मैं public sector इसलिए कह रहा हूँ बार बार, because out of total NPAs in India, around 82% are in public sector, 82-83%. तो इसीलिए public sector में ये issue ज़्यादा problematic है, इसीलिए मैं बार बार public sector का नाम ले रहा हूँ. Then, that is one that we take, write off the loan. The second is use insolvency and bankruptcy code. Exit law, कंपनीज को लिक्विडेट कर दो, नेशनल कंपनी लॉ ट्रिब्यूनल ले जाओ, बेचो इन कंपनीज को, कोई नई कंपनी अगर खरीद ले. यहां पर भी रिकवरी रेट इज 43% एंड डिलेज अप टू 1 year, प्लस ऑल कंपनीज are not feasibly liquidated. 3 प्रॉब्लम्स हैं इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंकरप्सी कोड के. पहला तो 3 प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंकरप्सी कोड. फर्स्ट, द रिकवरी रेट इज 43%, विच इज नॉट वेरी हाई. हेयर कट अभी भी 57% का लेना पड़ेगा. डिलेज अप टू 1 year और मोर, 2-2 साल, 1.5 साल के डिलेज हो रहे हैं यहाँ पर भी. और तीसरा, सारी कंपनीज नहीं जा सकती यहाँ पे, ये लिमिटेशंस हैं इसमें. The NCLT is already overburdened. So insolvency and bankruptcy code could be one solution, but that solution was also not very heavily working. Another possible solution is, if we can take this up, another possible solution is that, so another possible solution is that we allow conversion of debt into equity. कि बैंकर्स जो हैं, पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंकर्स या प्राइवेट सेक्टर बैंकर्स, जो लोन उन्होंने दिया है, अगर कंपनी उसे नहीं लौटा पा रही तो उस डेट को इक्विटी में, शेयर्स में कन्वर्ट कर दो और कंपनी टेक ओवर कर लो. ठीक है, या तो टेक ओवर कर लो या उस कंपनी में कुछ शेयर्स रख लो अपने पास, दोनों में से जो भी तुम्हें पॉसिबल हो सकता है. ऑलराइट, सो कन्वर्ट द डेट इनटू इक्विटी एंड टेक ओवर द कंपनी. ऑलराइट, कन्वर्टिंग डेट, लोन, डेट का मतलब लोन, इक्विटी का मतलब शेयर्स. So convert the debt into equity, convert the loan into shares, take over that company, take over the management, and then maybe sell that company off to somebody else and recover your dues. That can be another thing. This was introduced in 2009 also, 2015 also as SDR. This was special debt restructuring. ये भी इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया था कि तुम स्पेशल डेट रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग कर लो, SDR. तो स्पेशल डेट रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग में क्या करो, डेट को कन्वर्ट करो इक्विटी में, कन्वर्ट द डेट इनटू इक्विटी, लोन को कन्वर्ट कर दो उस कंपनी के शेयर्स में, तुम्हें अलाउड होगा, और उस कंपनी को फिर टेक ओवर कर लो और किसी को बेच दो और अपने पैसे रिकवर कर लो. कन्वर्ट द डेट इनटू इक्विटी, रीस्ट्रक्चर द कंपनी एंड देन सेल इट ऑफ टू समबडी एल्स, रिकवर योर मनी. नाउ दिस वाज वेरी मच लाइक IBC, बट नाउ द बैंकर्स विल हैव देयर ओन कंट्रोल. यहां भी यही प्रॉब्लम थी, सिंगल लेंडर तो था नहीं, तो बहुत लोग मिलकर टेक ओवर करेंगे कंपनी को, सबको अपने अपने आइडियाज होंगे रीस्ट्रक्चर करने के. If there is a single lender, this could have worked. But there were multiple lenders, which meant that multiple lenders will now take over the company. Who will get what proportion of equity? What would they like to do with that proportion of equity? So you needed a joint lender consortium which was created. But even here, not much could be achieved because of the lack of coordination among the lenders. लेंडर्स के बीच में कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं था, तो जॉइंट लेंडर कंसोर्टियम क्रिएट किया गया, लेकिन इससे भी बहुत फायदा नजर नहीं आया. तो ये तरीके इतने सक्सीड नहीं कर रहे थे. इस बीच में थोड़ा IBC के वजह से, थोड़ा सरकार की सख्ती के वजह से, सुनते रहना आप मेरी बात. इन द मीन टाइम, बिकॉज ऑफ IBC एंड बिकॉज ऑफ गवर्नमेंट्स पुश, in 2018 the NPAs were rupees 10 lakh crore. By 2019, by 2018 they were 10.8 lakh crore. 2019 they came down to 10 lakh crore. 31st March is what I am telling you. And this came down further. 31st March 2020, the loans came to something like 2020. The loans came to something like 9 lakh crore. 10.8 lakh crore, 10 lakh crore, now 9 lakh crore. तो पिछले 2 साल से डिक्लाइनिंग ट्रेंड नजर आ रहा था. एक तो इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी कोड अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा था उस मामले में, लोगों को डेटर भी कर रहा था, पीपल वर नाउ नॉट डूइंग विलफुल डिफॉल्ट, दे न्यू दे विल बी पनिश्ड, प्लस द लॉज वर मेड बेटर एंड इकोनॉमी वाज शोइंग सम payback capacity, liquidity was given by the RBI by reducing repo rate, etc. So some loans were starting to come back. Now, but then we were hit by the COVID. By then we were hit by the COVID. So hit by the COVID meant that it is now expected by 30th September 2020. Estimate is that bad assets have gone up back to around 10.5 lakh crore. And by 30th September 2021, it's possible they may go up to 13 lakh crore. अब फिर बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है हमारे सामने. बैंक्स को प्रोविजन करना पड़ेगा, लिक्विडिटी गायब होगी, ग्रोथ रुकेगा, वापस उसी चक्र में घूमते रह जाएंगे फिर तो. So again, this is a challenge in front of us. So this was the contention under which the budget proposed this year that let's create a bad bank, the budget proposed this year that let's create a bad bank, Now what is a bad bank? And that bad bank is publicly owned or government supported. So 2016-17 economic survey, chapter 4, they talked about a public asset rehabilitation agency, PARA, which was nothing but this bad bank. A public asset rehabilitation agency, PARA, which was nothing but this bad bank. Now what will the bad bank do? The bad bank or the public asset rehabilitation, और bad bank का नाम bad bank इसलिए है क्योंकि वो banks के bad loans take over कर लेगा, ठीक है? Bad bank का नाम bad bank इसलिए है क्योंकि वो banks के bad loans take over कर लेगा. Alright, that is the aspect of it. Cool लगने के लिए नहीं है. ये नहीं कि oh it sounds cool, bad bank. नहीं. Somebody was telling me from your generation actually, so I just thought I should share it with you. The fellow said that to look cool they are calling it bad bank. No sir, they are not calling it bad bank to look cool. It's because bad loans of the bank will be taken over, so bad bank. But any which way, then this bad bank, which will be publicly owned or government supported, the idea is that initial capital, शुरुआत में इसमें पैसे लगाओ, initial capital of around 15,000 crore to 20,000 crore, and government says they will not pay money into that. Initial capital of 15,000 crore to 20,000 crore, funded by lenders, and financial institutions. क्यों? क्योंकि ये बैड बैंक से सबसे ज्यादा फायदा लेंडर्स का ही होगा क्योंकि उनके लोन्स जाएंगे ऑफ बैलेंस शीट. The biggest benefit that the bad bank will give will be to the lenders because their loans will go off balance sheet. So 15 to 20,000 crore, is what will happen, funded by lenders and financial institutions. 15,000 crore to 20,000 crore initial capital to provision for NPAs up to rupees 5 lakh crore. कि इतने तक का एनपीए फिर ये खरीद सकते हैं उससे. आप भूलो मत कि बैंक शुरू में अपफ्रंट पेमेंट कम करके बैड बैंक इन एनपीएस को टेक ओवर कर सकती है. The bad bank can do some upfront payment and then take over these NPAs. So up to 5 lakh crore worth of NPA has to be provisioned. 15,000 crore will still be a very small amount. With that you can at most provision for 1 lakh crore. 15,000 करोड़ 20,000 करोड़ का अगर शुरुआत करोगे तो 1.25 लाख करोड़ का एनपीए प्रोविजन कर पाओगे. तो 5 लाख करोड़ के लिए बड़ा बैंक और चाहिए होगा. बट अभी के लिए जो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने कहा है मैं वो शेयर कर रहा हूं. सो द फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर सेज दैट गवर्नमेंट प्लान्स दैट 15,000 to 20,000 crore worth of initial capital will be put and government will give a guarantee to it. Government can extend a guarantee to it that okay, in case of a failure government can take care of that. So government can give a guarantee to it, but she says government will not put its own money from the budget into that. Government will give a guarantee and let the lenders come together and let the lenders develop this bad bank, and that can be used for recovering the asset. Of course it will be guaranteed by the government and it will be to a great extent supported by the government. What is the reason why government is reluctant? Please understand. So let's get into that one by one. One is, first of all, what is the benefit? अब अगर शॉर्ट टर्म में बात करूं या शॉर्ट टर्म लैंग्वेज में तो बैड बैंक का मतलब ये समझ लो पब्लिकली ओन्ड असेट रिकंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी, सरकारी असेट रिकंस्ट्रक्शन कंपनी बनाने की बात हुई कि क्यों कि एक सरकार जो है वो सपोर्ट करें और एक एआरसी बने. कि प्राइवेट एआरसी तो उतना आंसर नहीं दे पा रहे तो सरकार सपोर्ट करे और एक एआरसी बने उससे. ऑलराइट, अब क्या बेनिफिट होगा इसमें? फर्स्ट इज one, better coordination in credit management, better coordination in credit management due to a single management source for all loans. तो जो प्रॉब्लम ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेशन आ रही थी, solves the problem of lack of coordination among lenders, solves the problem of lack of coordination among creditors. This is the first thing that we bring across, that better coordination in credit management due to a single management source for all loans. सारे लोन एक जगह ट्रांसफर हो जाएंगे, तो उससे क्या होगा, अब लेंडर्स के बीच में जो आपस में घमासान छिड़ता था, जिसकी बात मैं कर चुका हूं आपसे थोड़ी देर पहले कि लोन को कैसे रीस्ट्रक्चर करना है, वो खत्म हो जाएगा क्योंकि सिंगल सोर्स से सारा लोन रिकवर हो रहा है. So the lenders who would fight among or who would not be able to reach a consensus, now that problem is gone because there is a single source where all the loans can be taken up. The second important benefit you will have is getting rid of twin balance sheet problem. Getting rid of twin balance sheet problem because it frees banks' balance sheet of NPA and therefore from provisioning. बैंक के बैलेंस शीट को एनपीए से फ्री करता है और प्रोविजनिंग से फ्री करता है, तो ट्विन बैलेंस शीट इशू थोड़ा रिजॉल्व होगा. इट विल क्रिएट बेटर लिक्विडिटी इन द इकोनॉमी, अलाउ द फर्म्स टू एक्सपैंड बेटर. As the firms will see that there is easier liquidity available and banks are willing to lend, then that will mean that liquidity will allow some investment growth by the firms. As firms expand, better job creation can be expected, which will then mean people start consuming a little better, taking the economy out of vicious cycle and putting it into the cycle of high consumption. So high investment will mean again more liquidity, high consumption. अगर मन में आए नहीं सर हाई कंजम्पशन होगा तो सेविंग्स कैसे ज़्यादा होंगी, इन्वेस्टमेंट कैसे ज़्यादा होगा. High consumption in a situation where already there is excess liquidity and in a situation where there is capacity to produce. So high consumption, liquidity, capacity to produce will induce firms to expand capacity now, looking at future growth of investment or demand. And that will then mean more employment creation and puts you in that virtuous cycle where more employment will mean more consumption. More consumption will induce more investment because of future expectations of profit and so on. And that will allow the economy to start getting back on track growth-wise. So resolving it one time will be able to do that in one go. Third is, since it's a public sector company, the benefit, it will have deeper pockets than the private ARCs. Deeper pockets and better legal presence or authority. So deeper pockets means it will be richer enough, it will have more money in its pocket. Government can support it on time needed, public sector banks can put money into it if required, and it will have better legal system behind it because it will be government backed. So legally it will be much better structured. It won't have to bother about earning profit every time. See, if you are an asset reconstruction company, private, तो private ARC हो तो तुम्हें profit की चिंता तो रहेगी कि भाई मेरा profit आएगा या नहीं. But if you are a public ARC, then profit is not your concern. Your concern is to solve this issue up, and you have deeper pockets because you are supported by the government and public sector banks, and your legal position is much better because you are established as a single consortium, where there is less confrontation and chances that you will be able to recover money then becomes better in the process. All right, so in that sense, public asset reconstruction companies are relatively better positioned than private asset reconstruction companies to be able to recover their money. Also remember that write-offs will be easier. The fourth benefit is that they get is write-offs by bad bank will be easier because of their public stature. Public stature here means supported by the government, so less risk of failure. Supported by the government, so less risk of failure. So in that case, they can easily write off more as compared to what a private ARC can do. They can easily write off more and as compared to what a private ARC can do. Also, it can be funded, also it can be funded by the creditors, funded by creditors like public sector banks. Mind you, they have 83% exposure in NPAs. So they can fund this ARC to remove their problem of NPA, and that will be incentivizing for them. Some money that they get from government as recapitalization can be used for this. सरकार ने पिछले 7 सालों में, आप समझना ये बात, इन द लास्ट, क्योंकि कुछ लोग क्या कह रहे हैं, अरे तुम तो पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक में 20,000 करोड़ ही डाल रहे हो, ये तुम चाहते हो जानबूझ के पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक को डुबाना. कैसी बात हो रही है? Some people are saying that government is putting only 20,000 crore in public sector bank. What kind of business is this? Now this is a ridiculous talk. Government has put in 3,87,000 crore rupees in the last 9 years in public sector banks. 2,11,000 crore as a part of Indradhanush Extended and 1,76,000 crore between 2011 and 2017. So 3,87,000 crore rupees have been committed by the government to public sector banks. Another 20,000 crore this year makes it 4,07,000 crore rupees committed by government to public sector banks. And people are still saying that you want to ruin public sector banks, you are not supporting them. Well, 4,07,000 crore rupees is almost half of our normal year fiscal deficit, a little more than that. In a normal year, our fiscal deficit is 8 lakh crore. That was the case in 2019-20. तो उस साल का फिस्कल डेफिसिट जो था रिवाइज्ड एस्टीमेट वो 8 लाख करोड़ का था, 7,96,000 करोड़, और 4,07,000 करोड़ का तो ये सरकार दे चुकी है पैसे पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक में. तो समझना पड़ेगा हमें दैट वी हैव टू रिफॉर्म पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स. आई विल बी कमिंग टू दैट, बट दैट्स आल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट टू कीप इन माइंड. व्हाट विल देन द चैलेंजेस per se, what will be the problems or the challenges in running this bad bank? See, there are 3 major challenges that you have to live with in the process. When it comes to challenges, first is proper managerial functioning. And avoiding politics. If they write off more loans, there will be accusations of favoritism. फिर लोग कहेंगे अरे तुम तो कॉर्पोरेट की मदद कर रहे हो, प्रो कॉर्पोरेट हो, प्रो बिजनेस हो, उसमें भी पर्टिकुलर कंपनी का लोन राइट ऑफ किया तो तुम्हारी सरकार तो इनके थ्रू ही चलती है. दोज एक्यूजेशंस विल कम. So if they write off more loans, there will be accusations of favoritism. All right. And in case you think, who will they write off to? Who will take over these loans? Nobody. Writing off in this case for a bad bank will mean that I am not going to collect this much loan, but I will collect the rest of it. Like the bad bank can enter into an agreement with the borrower that, okay, how much can you pay? Say the borrower says, I can pay 70 rupees out of 100. Say the bad bank says, all right, pay 70 rupees out of 100 and we finish this. So 30% write-off in that sense. Done. Haircut taken, written off. That, okay, we will not be collecting it ever. So that can also be done, but that's very difficult politically as a challenge. And if they become stringent and if they convert all loan into equity, then the same opposition party politically can say, oh, look, you are taking over a bad private company. You are so stringent. अगर राइट ऑफ करेंगे तो कहेंगे तुम कंपनी की मदद कर रहे हो, अगर कहेंगे ठीक है मैं लोन को रीस्ट्रक्चर कर रहा हूं और डेट को इक्विटी में कन्वर्ट कर रहा हूं, आई एम कन्वर्टिंग ऑल डेट इनटू इक्विटी एंड टेकिंग ओवर दिस कंपनी, देन पीपल विल से ओह सी दिस प्राइवेट मैनेजर मिसमैनेज्ड द कंपनी, नाउ दिस ओनर इज लीविंग द कंपनी एंड गवर्नमेंट इज टेकिंग ओवर अ पुअरली मैनेज्ड कंपनी, व्हाट अ शेम. So, if you bring politics into it, we are in trouble. Because in that case, then no feasible decision can be taken. See, the losses have happened, and these losses have to be recognized. That's what the system has to understand first and foremost. कि भाई नुकसान तो अब हो गया है, अब उस नुकसान को recognize करो ताकि आगे के नुकसान से बचे. अब 6 साल से हम इसको टालते जा रहे हैं, 7 साल से, क्योंकि हमें पता है जो इसको पकड़ेगा उसके ऊपर लोग पिल पड़ेंगे कि तुमने गड़बड़ की. So that's the political acrimony issue. That the losses have happened, we all know losses have happened, we all know we should write them off, but somehow we are, dragging our feet, thinking something from somewhere will happen. Nothing will happen, we are just expanding the size of the problem by dragging our feet because of the interest that keeps getting added to it every year. So that is another problem that you see in this case. So now in that case, what do? What is the solution? Make bad bank an autonomous body, an autonomous body run by professionals. That is one thing that should be done. Make it an autonomous body, make it run by professionals, and set it with a target of some minimum profit to be recovered. Set it with a target of some minimum profit to be recovered. So make it a body such that it is professionally run, it is with an arm's length distance to the government, and set for it targets to recover the money, some minimum amount at a short notice. कम टाइम में थोड़े पैसे कम से कम रिकवर कर सकें, ये एक उनके लिए टारगेट सेट होना चाहिए. So with a target of recovering a minimum amount at a shorter time, in a shorter time period. So that can be one thing that can be done to solve this problem or the first challenge that we have for bad bank. The second challenge that bad bank creates for us is moral hazard. What is moral hazard? Bank managers will feel complacent about extending bad loans or about extending risky loans, assuming that it will be taken over by the bad banks in case of a default. Risky loans, assuming that it will be taken over by the bad bank, it will be taken over by bad bank in case of default. ये एक moral hazard कहलाता है इकोनॉमिक्स में टर्म, कि आपने ऐसा सिचुएशन किया जहां आप इंसेंटिवाइज कर रहे हो बैड एक्शन. आपने ऐसा सिचुएशन किया जहां आप इंसेंटिवाइज कर रहे हो बैड एक्शन. ऑलराइट, बैड एक्शन क्यों इंसेंटिवाइज कर रहे हो? क्योंकि आप एक सिचुएशन क्रिएट कर रहे हो जहां पर बैंक मैनेजर्स को ये लग सकता है कि ठीक है थोड़ा लूजली लोन दे दो और जब खराब होगा तो बैड बैंक है ही, वो टेक ओवर कर लेगी. So as Dr. Rajan said in his book, I Do What I Do, very correctly he said that this will then result in simply shifting bad loans from one public sector to another public sector. One public sector to another public sector. That's not a good idea. क्योंकि फिर आपने इसका रिजोल्यूशन कहाँ किया? आप तो एक बैड लोन को एक पब्लिक सेक्टर से दूसरे पे शिफ्ट कर दिए, लोन रिजॉल्व नहीं हो रहा है, प्रॉब्लम अपनी जगह पर ही है, फिर रिजोल्यूशन करना इंपॉर्टेंट है. सो दैट इज द सेकेंड प्रॉब्लम. दैट इज वाई टू सॉल्व इट अगेन यू नीड स्टेक ऑफ द बैंकर्स इन इट. तो भाई बैंक डूब जाएगा तुम्हारा अगर गलत डिसीजन लिए तो. सो टू सॉल्व इट, सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ मोरल हैजार्ड, टू सॉल्व इट लेट बैंकर्स और क्रेडिटर्स, इसीलिए जो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने कहा कि क्रेडिटर्स को ये बनाना पड़ेगा, ये अच्छी बात है. लेट बैंकर्स और क्रेडिटर्स टेक स्टेक इन इट. बैंकर्स को या क्रेडिटर्स को इसमें स्टेक लेना चाहिए. ठीक है, वो स्टेक लेंगे तो ये पक्का करेंगे कि हम बेकार लोन ना दें, क्योंकि नुकसान फिर हमारा ही होगा लॉन्ग रन में. If they have a stake in the bad bank, they would know that if we give bad loans today, then that will add to the problems in bad bank or loans to the bad bank, and that will then mean losses for us only in future. So that can be one method of making sure that you recover things better than usual. All right. Third is that public bad bank, a publicly owned bad bank, may buy NPAs at inflated price. You know, जितना रिकवर नहीं हो सकता उतने पैसे दे दिए बैंकर को. अब बैंकर तो बड़ा खुश होगा कि चलो भैया मेरे तो हेयर कट कम रहा. You know, if you give more money to the banker compared to what can be recovered, मान लो आप जानते हो कि feasibly 70 rupees can be recovered, but out of 100, but you tell the banker, okay, I will buy the asset for 80 rupees, in a sense 10 rupees का implicit subsidy दे दिया, knowing that you will be able to recover only 70. फिर तो ये लॉस में ही चलेगा ना ये बैंक, और लॉस में चलेगा तो फिर इसका क्या फायदा होगा. You know, so that means in public sector, if you create a bad bank, the incentive to inflate the NPA value and then sell it, buy it from the banker, even if it is owned by the banker, will be quite high, and government will have to take care that that can be restricted. How do you restrict that? The solution is develop market-based price. You know, the solution is that you develop market-based price. All right. When you say develop market-based price, that is by creating a large market for bank collaterals. जो भी सिक्योरिटीज बैंक ने लिए हैं उनकी मार्केट्स, एक बड़ी मार्केट क्रिएट करो, खूब सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स बनाओ कि बोरोअर्स, लेंडर्स वहां आए और कोलैटरल्स खरीद सकें. वो बिल्डिंग हो, शेयर्स हो, बॉन्ड्स हो, जो भी तुमने सिक्योरिटी रखी वो खरीदने बेचने का एक मार्केट बने. एट द मोमेंट इट इज वेरी वीक इन इंडिया. अभी ये इंडिया में बहुत कमजोर है. इसे स्ट्रेंथन करना पड़ेगा और लीगल बैकिंग देनी पड़ेगी. We will have to strengthen this market and give it a legal backing. ऐसे laws बनाने होंगे so that it is clear that the ownership of collateral lies with the bank once the default has been finalized, and now the bank can do anything with it, and no court of law, it can be taken to no court of law on the premise that the loan was paid later on. ऐसी हरकतें नहीं करनी है. So give it a legal backing and give it a good premise so that the bank can work on it. Give it a legal backing, give it a good premise, develop the markets, encourage bankers, finance companies, institutions to participate in this market and strengthen the whole process. Apart from that, what you need to do, is that you need to make sure that overall banking system is overhauled. जो आपका ओवरऑल बैंकिंग सिस्टम है वो ओवरहॉल्ड रहे. That is what is very much important. I'm telling you what in conclusion you can think of, that you see Economic Survey 2015-16 suggested 4 R's regarding NPAs. One was recognition, पहचानो कि तुम्हारे पास NPA है, वो तो हमने कर लिया. Second was resolution, उन NPA का निपटारा करो. वो चर्चा चल रही है कि निपटारा करना पड़ेगा, बैड बैंक बनाए, IBC यूज करें एंड सो ऑन. थर्ड, रिकैपिटलाइजेशन, जो बैंक्स को प्रोविजन करना पड़ेगा एनपीए को देखने के बाद उनको रिकैपिटलाइज करो, पैसे डालो उनमें. जो मैंने आपको बताया सरकार ने 3,87,000 करोड़ डाले. सो फर्स्ट, recognize that there are NPAs, we have done that. Second, resolve the NPAs, we are in the process of doing that, but we have been found short of target. Third, recapitalize the banks, we have done recapitalization to a great extent. Fourth, reform the banking system, and that is what is the key. Unless we don't reform the banking system, unless we don't create 3-4 big public sector, until we don't create a collateral market, until we don't make sure that bad loans can be prevented by early कैचिंग ऑफ सच इंस्टीट्यूशंस, एक ऐसा इंस्टीट्यूशन बनाओ जो कि नज़र रखे फाइनेंशियल कंपनीज पे कि जैसे ही वो कहीं भी डिफ़ॉल्ट उनके यहाँ ज़्यादा होने लगे या उन पे खतरा आए कि उसको सॉल्व किया जाए, एक रिजोल्यूशन कॉरपोरेशन जैसा, that as soon as you see that some financial company is going risky, the warning signal should come. RBI के पास है ये target, but RBI is overburdened, it cannot do that. So what do we need to do? You can have a public sector asset rehabilitation agency or a bad bank which is backed by the government, guaranteed by the government, owned by the private sector, owned by the bankers and the other creditors, whether private or public, running to resolve the problems, but final resolution will happen and the problem of NPA can be solved only if banking system is reformed, and reformed by making better rules, better provisioning, keeping better eye on financial system. Another is making sure that there is more depth in the markets of collateral, and assuring that this agency that you are creating is taken away from political system and given its own independent professional management system like an RBI or a SEBI or an IRDA and so on. Then it can be a decent idea, otherwise the problem will continue. That is the way you can think over it. Okay, thanks for giving me a 2 minutes break. I'd just gone to talk to the team regarding things. So, yes, this part of the lecture will be uploaded. You will get the entire lecture again. My main purpose was to give you an insight into the whole idea on bad bank system working in India. Actually, it was, even in US, they started it. It was called a Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP. Troubled Asset Relief Program शुरू किया था US में लोगों ने, TARP. And in Troubled Asset Relief Program, in 2008, they started it when the bad loans started happening in US post the subprime crisis. In TARP, actually, it worked pretty well for them. In fact, by 2012, they could even earn profit and give it back to the system. By 2012, they could even earn profit and give it back to the system. So in India also, a bad bank is not undesirable. I see your question, the last one. So it's not undesirable. It's a good idea, provided we do the reforms and then run them. वो undesirable नहीं है, लेकिन जो आखिरी में मैंने 3-4 reforms बताए आपको, वो होने बहुत ज़रूरी है. अगर उनके बिना करेंगे तो फ़ायदा नहीं होगा. If we do those things without the reform, it won't help us much. Well, stock markets are happy, but overall it will again need to be made sure that the implementation is good and not tardy. 15,000 crore rupees, it is said that lenders, there is no clarity on that yet, Rahul. It is said that the lenders consortium will be developed. कुछ lenders मिलकर ये develop करें bad bank, और सरकार उसे guarantee कर देगी कि ठीक है, अगर failure होता है तो सरकार will interfere. But major money, but I'll tell you how it can happen. Government is planning to infuse, the budget has given 20,000 crore to public sector banks. So maybe a 6-7,000 crore rupees can come from the public sector banks. Out of those 20,000 crore, another 7-8,000 crore can be poured in by LIC or other companies like IDB, IFCI and so on. So that way 15,000 crore can be generated. In fact, if the bank runs into profit, it is also possible to list it on the stock market and sell its shares. अगर ये bad bank longer run में profitable हो गया, तो stock market पे list करके से shares sell कर दो, better returns मिल जाएंगे. That ways. No difference, Devesh, at all. No difference between ARC and a bad bank. A bad bank is a publicly owned ARC. No, Tarun, bank has to do provisioning for no money. Once you have written off the loan and sold it to an asset management company or a bad bank, then you don't have to do provisioning for a single rupee. That is the benefit the banks get. Then they will be able to get better, or they will be able to highlight better returns to the market because they will be able to give more liquidity. So I hope you found the discussion useful and you will be able to generate more momentum in your understanding on this. As I told you yesterday, I have not taught you bad bank as yet. मैंने बस आपको एक insight दिया कि current affairs को सीखो थोड़ा तो कैसा लगता है. तो I hope तुम्हें मज़ा आया होगा ये करके. मुझे आपको पढ़ाने में बड़ा मज़ा आता है. तो इसीलिए थोड़ा फन रहता है मेरे लिए। मैं कल से ही बहुत एक्साइटेड था कि आज आपके साथ बैड बैंक डिस्कस करूंगा, सो आई वॉज एक्चुअली enjoying myself, so thank you for that. You owe it. I hope you understood things a little better. In case there are small issues that persist here and there, feel free, you can always ask me on the message, because now I take you into some textbook microeconomics, talking to you on Slutsky's substitution and income effect. आपको 4-5 मिनट का ब्रेक मिल ही गया, तो अब चलते हैं आगे। Okay, you have some more questions? Yes, Saurabh, we will be talking about bond markets in India. Part of it, a lot of it rather. AQR, Shubham, is a very simple system of working, that banks have to recognize all the faulty assets that they have. All the faulty assets, that is AQR.